Hi, in this video tutorial we'll be looking at a brief overview of search engines. In particular, we'll be looking at what they are, what they do, the types of search engines that are available, and how they are built, how they are constructed. This sort of information is particularly useful if you're looking to rank a website and you're looking for a web search engine to rank it. If you understand what it is, what it does, and how it's constructed, then you have a better understanding of the whole SEO process. A search engine is basically software that's designed to perform three different jobs. The first job it does is it collects and stores information. The second thing it does is order that information in terms of its relevance or its importance. And the third thing it does is presents that information to a user on demand. Now, there are several different search engine types that are around, the first of which we call the desktop search engine. There's also enterprise search engines, and web search engines, and site search engines. A desktop search engine is basically a search engine that you find on your local computer. So if you're looking at a Microsoft search function, it's often accessed via the Start menu, where you can search for files and folders. In the Apple Mac environment, it's the Finder. And what the desktop search engine does is look for folders and files in that computer. Of all the different search engine types, by far the most complicated and the most complex of search engines is the enterprise search engine. So the enterprise search engine is often found in medium-sized or large organisations, and why it's so complicated is it often has to pull its data from multiple different places. So it may pull intranet data, shared drive data, it may pull information from emails. So it needs to be able to pull this information from many different sources, and that's usually in many different formats as well. And it needs to organise that information and make sense of it. What typifies the enterprise search engine is also it tends to give specific levels of access, and it does this by password protecting certain things. So what this means in practice is that perhaps the receptionist may not have access via the search engine to all the billing engines, or somebody working in accounts may not be able to see what the call centre staff see. So typically an enterprise search engine does actually create levels of access and restrict certain content from certain users. By far the most commonly recognised search engines are the web search engines. And the biggest of those is Google. So when we think about search engines, often we think about Google and we think about web search engines, even though there are other sorts of search engines around. Now, the job of a web search engine particularly is to collect, store and display content from the internet. Modern web search engines are quite sophisticated. They will collect and store many different file types. So it's not just websites and web pages, but they'll pull images and videos, audio files, documents, PDFs. A range of different file types will be able to be collected and stored by the search engine. Now, each of the web search engines has its own proprietary algorithm, which it uses to decide the relevance or importance of the information it's collected. Just because you optimize your website to Google doesn't necessarily mean that the same formula applies to Bing or some of the other search engines. Those algorithms belong to the search engine themselves, and they each have their own unique proprietary way of deciding who ranks on top. The world's biggest search engines are Google, also Bing, which is the Microsoft equivalent, which replaced the Live search engine. Also Yahoo, although Yahoo is being decommissioned globally, and Baidu you might use if you're in China. The smaller search engines that you see around tend to pull their feeds from the larger search engines such as Google or Bing. Now, a site search engine works in much the same way as a web search engine. The difference is that it quarantines its search results just to that particular website. You'll find them in most medium-sized and large websites, and they're really a mandatory requirement for content-heavy sites and shops because they enable users to access the content that they want very quickly. A search engine is actually constructed of 3 different types of software. The first type of software we call query software. So the query software is what most people see when they use Google. They go to google.com and they see a field that enables them to enter a keyword and request information on demand. We call this the query software. Query software does provide for advanced search filters. When a user enters a query in the field provided and does a Google search, then what they are doing is requesting that information from Google's index or database. An index or a database is essentially computer servers, and their purpose is really to store vast amounts of files and information that they have located on the internet. The other important feature of the index or database is that is where the algorithm is applied to score the importance or the relevance of a website. The third piece of software that makes up a web search engine is known as a spider, a crawler, or a bot. In Google's case, it's known as the Google bot. Now, the purpose of the Google bot is to go about from link to link, following information and collecting it as it goes along through the internet. And what it does is send that information back to the index where it is stored and the algorithm is applied. If you ever want to see when the Google bot last visited your website, all you need to do is go to google.com and enter your URL into Google. You'll see in the snippet that there's a little cached option that sits alongside the URL, and if you click on that cached option, it will tell you at the top of the screen when the Google bot was last at your site. So in sum, how the 3 pieces of software work together is the user performs a search, which we call a query, and that search is sent to the index or the database, which are basically computer servers that store the information to provide a result on demand. Those servers, those databases, they get their information from spiders, and spiders follow different hyperlinks along the internet, and as they go they collect information and send it back to the indexes as they move along. That's the end of this tutorial. I hope it has been useful to you. Please do stay tuned, there's always plenty more.